auction houses. Meet Kurt Whitworth from Nashville. Kirk is an auctioneer. Some of you met Kirk. How many of you met Kirk? Kirk runs an auction company. Tell them what you do and about how many auctions do you do in a, I don't know, given year, I guess.
We auction, and what we do is real estate, all kinds of real estate. The last half of last year, we were involved in about 61 projects. There are days when, depending on the size of the project and what it is, we'll do 4 or 5 properties in one day. Next month in North Carolina, we've got 5 commercial properties that are land only we'll do in one day. That's just what we do.
So you're an auction company. While you're standing up here, tell us, what should we do to get companies like yours to tell us when we have projects coming up that look like they might be, that make sense for us to be at the auction? Or, in fact, another point, isn't it true that if I want to, I can go make an offer on a property that's on the auction block before the auction?
Yes, sir. There are properties that are sold before it goes to sale. If you see a property you're interested in and there's a sign up there that is going to auction, a lot of times the owners are so anxious to sell and sometimes so desperate to sell in some cases that if you make them an offer that they'll go ahead and pull it out of the sale, and that's not uncommon.
I have bought numerous properties before the auction ever occurred. Everybody else sitting around waiting on the auction. Look at it from the seller's point of view. An auction is a variable. We don't know we're going to sell it. We don't know what we're going to sell it for. I go in here and make an offer. It's a bird in the hand rather than a bird in the bush. Now, sometimes they'll wait on the auction. Sometimes they'll say, well, let's have the auction, and then I'll take a look at your offer. And I said, nope, the auction's over, my offer's over. If you want my offer, it's now. I can go to the auction like everybody else. And you put a little pressure on them. I bought several properties like that. Kurt, I got a list of auction companies on here and auction websites. You guys see the list? Yep. You're welcome. Thank Tish. What is the name of it?
The Auction Marketing Network. It's called Auction Marketing Network.
Auction Marketing Network.com. So I guess really all we can do is notify these auction companies, and we can do it online here, to put us on their mailing list. Should we identify what kind of property we're looking for?
Absolutely. You need to tell them what you're looking for so that they can just send you the stuff that you're interested in. Otherwise, if you call and tell them we're interested in everything, you probably just hit the trash can because nobody's interested in everything.
Yeah, you're right. However, hey, are we interested in, like seizeedrealestate.com? Obviously, we're interested. Tell them what areas you're interested in, guys. He's right. Don't try to get everything sent to you from everywhere in the country because you're not going to look at it and you're not going to follow up on it. And don't send us an auction brochure and say, here's a deal I want to partner on. It don't work that way. Okay? I can tell you right now, Hudson Marshall's a big one. You get a lot of stuff from there. Look at this, governmentauctions.org. That's one I'd certainly want to be on. Man, you steal stuff at government auctions. Steal stuff. They still have to hire an auctioneer to come do the auction. Would you say that if you were doing a government auction, we'd learn about it from being on your list anyway, wouldn't we? Yeah.
If it was an auction that we were doing, yes, sir, and you were on our auction list and were interested in that kind of property.
All right. Any questions for Kirk? I got him here. Yes, sir.
I have a piece of property that I'm interested in, 12,500 square foot home for $10 million. It also has with it a 5,000 square foot guest home. And it's in the Beverly Hills of Northern California.
What's the question?
Pardon?
What's the question?
My question is, how do you get it to you people? In other words,
do you own it?
The owner?
Do you own it?
Eddie Murphy.
Do you own it?
No.
Do you have a contract on it?
I can't get a contract on it.
Well, then you don't have any need for an auctioneer.
But I could have one similar, and I was wondering how you would operate.
Well, first you have to own or control the property. If you own the property, it's easy. You just call an auctioneer and arrange auction. If you control the property, you must have seller's permission to call auctioneer and arrange auction on their property. If you can do neither, an auctioneer is out of your life. There's no reason for you to call an auctioneer except send me properties.
Yeah, well, I just
you can't auction something you don't own or control. Question back here.
Yes. Kirk, do we contact the auctioneer?
To buy before the auction, what's the process? You absolutely contact the auctioneer. Go ahead. Auctioneer is a realtor. They have it listed, per se, for that auction. And do you want to address that instead of letting me do it?
No, you're exactly right. You just contact the auction company. If you see a sign on a property you're interested in buying, contact the auctioneer. And say you want to look at the property, talk to them about it, get a preview, be able to take a look at the property, and run an offer at them, because it backs the seller into a corner that, they've either got to take your offer, or whatever it is, or take their chances at the sale. And it depends on what your offer is. They'll do it sometimes.
Do they have lock boxes on them?
Do they have lock boxes on them? We're talking about commercial property here, man.
Some do, some don't. It depends on what the property is. If we're selling junk for somebody, we'll stick a lockbox on there. Somebody calls on the phone, they sound like they're intelligent, I'll give them the combination.
It doesn't matter. The auctioneer
Not
can
his
show you the
house in
property.
Beverly Hills.
Auctioneer will show you the property. Yeah. Anyway, now I'll tell you something. Here's a problem with buying them before the auction. They're going to want to know you're serious. And now sometimes they're going to ask you to close before the auction, and that depends on how far away it is. But at the very least, would you agree that you're going to have some serious earnest money deposit up here, and probably have completed your due diligence before the auction date? Is that a normal thing?
Oh, absolutely. We're not going to pull a sale for a maybe possible if the stars and the moon line up. Now, you're going to put down hard money right then on the spot that you'll never get back. Enough to make it worth it.
You may have time to do a little due diligence, but before that auction, you can rest assured that you're going to have money at risk. So you're going to have to move quickly. And if that doesn't work, it doesn't work. You can always attend the auction. But some deals are just easy to analyze. One more right here.
I'm wondering, on average, what percentage of actual value do properties sell for at auction?
If the auction's done correctly and you get everyone there at the same time that's interested in that property all bidding against each other, you reach market value.
It depends on the property. Of course, I guess market value is what the highest bidder would pay in any circumstance, isn't it? Today. Yeah. Property in bad shape, going to have less bidders than gorgeous properties in gorgeous condition. On the other hand, what have we already determined about gorgeous properties in gorgeous condition that are well run? We ain't buying them before or after an auction. Okay, do I have a hand up over here? Yes. He sells it well. Absolutely. We're going to get into that on day 4. I'm going to have Kirk back up here, and he's going to tell you his really cool plan for selling subdivided lots. He's got a really neat plan for that one, which I can't wait to test out. And I will test it out. I'm going to buy a subdivision just so we can do an auction on it. The problem is, in today's market, the lots sell faster than you can bring them online anyway. But he's going to make the case that he can actually get more in retail value for them, aren't you? Aren't you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm going to test him very soon. One more, and we're going to take a break. Yeah.
No, sir, we're nationwide, and we've got the ability to go international if the project, it depends on the size and scope of the project.
Okay. I'm going to give Kurt a big hand, please. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. All right, let's go back to locating prospects here. Could my commercial brokers, could you guys come on up, please, wherever you were, the commercial real estate brokers? What I want to know from you guys, first identify yourself, tell us who you are, where you live, and if you're what you do. And we want to dig in behind the scenes. Go ahead. Either one of you wants to go first. Take the mic.
Sherman Ragland from Bowie, Maryland. Bowie is just outside Washington, D.C., to the east.
Okay.
Tim Collins. I'm located right outside of Greensboro, North Carolina. It's Burlington, North Carolina. So.
Sherman, are you active commercial broker? Is this?
I would not describe myself as an active commercial broker. I'm an active investor who holds a broker's license and uses it to my benefit as an investor.
Okay.
That's the way I describe myself.
Tim, are you active commercial broker?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so this is how you make your living?
Yes.
All right. What would immediately identify in your mind a time waster coming to you looking for projects?
Generally, someone who, the easy tell on that is someone who obviously doesn't know what they're talking about when they call me on the phone.
How can you identify that they don't know what they're talking about?
Just the questions they ask generally, or what they say. If they're looking for something specific and they're knowledgeable about that area, they generally will give me the parameters that I need to look at. In other words, they'll tell me what they're looking for up front. That doesn't necessarily mean that people don't call looking for deals a lot, but I actually do business a bit differently than a lot of commercial brokers in that in that I don't list a lot of property. I generally work with a lot of buyers anyway, so I've got people.
You sell property. Well, that's okay though, but you're the right kind of realtor I'd want to approach if I want to know what's for sale.
Right.
So you sell property. What's your definition of a buyer that deserves a lot of your time in your mind? I want to know how to make you think that I'm real.
I don't waste time with a lot of people. I try very hard to find out what they're looking for up front, and if they're tire kickers or they're just looking around or they don't have any real specifics, I don't know how I can personally help them. So I'll do anything I can for someone, and I don't necessarily mean that because you call and you don't give me all the right answers that I'm not going to try to help you or work with you. But most commercial brokers are pretty busy people, and they don't want somebody that's just saying, I got some money, I really don't know what I want. They'll ask you the right questions. Well, what type of property are you looking for? Are you looking for multifamily? Are you looking for retail? Are you looking for raw land? And if you don't guide me in some way, I'm not going to have a good idea about how to help you.
So we probably should have a list prepared of what it is we're looking for.
Absolutely.
And what criteria we're looking for. And in fact, where's the doctor I was just talking to here? Where's she at? I want you to tell them how you approach this commercial broker.
My name is Connie Braun. I'm from Michigan, Saginaw, Michigan, which nobody knows where it is because really nobody wants to go there. But anyways, I've been doing residential for over 10 years with a partner, and Roger is a student of Mr. LeGrand's, and he's always wanted me to go to his sessions. And so before we came here, he said, I want you to listen to these 4 tapes, because he had the one that you had. So I listened to him, being, always doctors or, we need structure. And so I listened to these tapes like 4 times, and then I went on loop.net. And the next day, I started getting all these faxes. In fact, as my employees were like, Dr. Braun, are you changing? Do we still have a job here? Are you changing your profession? And anyways, and so I called a local broker in our county, and he started out with, well, how much do you have? What are you looking for? And from listening to his tapes, immediately I said, anything I can steal. And then he started laughing. And then his next thing, and I said, anything over 25,000 acres or 25,000 square feet, and anything that the ARV is not the same as the asking price. And he kept saying to me, well, I think I'm going to learn a lot from you. And I said, well, you know what? I take MasterCard, Visa, or American Express. So needless to say, just from this morning, I called him just from what you said this morning, and he's already emailing us Builder Square that went out of business, and a Sam's Club that has been looking. The person wants $12 million, and they was offered $5 million. So it's already worth the money, I feel, for this seminar. I'm glad. Thank you.
And you actually said.
And he said again today. He asked me, well, what do you want? What are you looking for? I said, anything I can steal.
Now, you got to admit, she was a doctor, and she's a perfect candidate that Tim's looking for, right, Tim?
Right.
Yeah.
Dumb doctors with no time and money and credit. Yeah.
Call me.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Give her a hand for that. Okay, Sherman.
Yep.
What, in your mind, you've been in real estate a long time, what in your mind would make you want to work with somebody approaching you looking for deals?
Okay. To answer the question just a little bit different, to work with a broker is actually relatively easy. Most brokers are focused on one thing and one thing only, and that's making a transaction go through so they can get paid. And so they're looking basically for 2 types of people, or 2 types of situations. They're either looking for a deal, or they're looking for people with money to buy the deal. So if you can convince a broker that you either have a deal for them, which is usually not going to be the case, or you have somebody who has money, or you have money, or you're affiliated with people who have money, and it's somebody that they do not know, they will look to do business with you, because what they're looking for is the same thing all the residential brokers are looking for, somebody who will buy deals from them and hopefully will do it on a repeat basis. And most commercial brokers are very good at screening out the real from the non-real.
The ones who make money are.
Yeah. And so they're going to ask you a series of questions to figure out whether or not it's worth their time to spend any time with you. And I think the kind of the bargaining chip that you would have access to an investor group, or you have access to an investor that they don't know about, who could potentially buy not just one deal, but a series of deals from them.
Turn to page 13 in your book. Here's how you approach brokers if you don't feel like you're going to say the right things and you're so worried about saying the wrong things that it stagnates you. You look down there at the bottom, you'll see in italics, I'm the front man. It's my job to find and pre-screen properties that meet our criteria and turn them over to my boss, who will be in touch with you directly to complete the transaction. That way you don't have to be all that smart. And for most of you, that they'll pick it up quickly anyway. All right.
Ron, just a real quick comment. Most brokers will give you one chance to prove whether or not they should spend time with you.
Good, well said. That's correct.
So they'll take a chance on you. They'll take a flyer on you one time. But if you prove yourself to be a flake, they won't return your phone calls. But if you have a good idea of what you're looking for, or have a good idea of what it is you're trying to accomplish, they'll at least take a chance on you and see whether or not it proves out to be fruitful for them.
And by saying front man, that gives you instant credibility that at least there's the possibility of something behind that.
And you could add to that. The company that I'm working with has purchased several $100 million worth of real estate in the last 24 months. They are deadly serious. Could you be telling them the truth?
Absolutely.
Yes, you could. What company are you working with? Papa. You are telling them the truth. That's not even a lie. Now, if I'm in their position, I can tell you right now that this relationship is going to be very short-lived. If I feel like you're jerking my chain. See, everybody in their back of the mind has been around very long. They really don't know who's real and who's not real. And they will always leave the door open until that person proves they're not real. Even though they suspect this is a dead-end street, they'll give them a little bit of the time, and anybody can fax stuff and make them aware of the deals. But if you take that information and you don't do something with it, then obviously they're not going to spend much more time with you. And I don't find it, even when I'm not involved. When I'm involved, I don't have any credibility problems with these brokers or whatever. But even when the people that are out in front of me are involved, we don't seem to have problems talking to commercial brokers if we just make them believe. One thing that I like to tell people when I'm dealing with them, I say, look, the world is full of time wasters who want to jerk your chain, isn't it? And they say, yeah, it sure is. Well, I ain't one of them. And they relate to that real quick, because you've just identified and brought to the forefront the problem that they're thinking about that they don't want to bring up right now because they're not sure that you are a time waster. Let them know you're aware the world's full of time wasters. And let them know you're not one of them. And then don't be one of them. Now, it's one thing to ask for information. That doesn't mean you got to go buy the property if you don't like the facts. But you know what? If you don't like the facts, you tell them why you don't like the facts. This doesn't work because they're asking retail price. And frankly, we just can't pay retail price. This doesn't work because we require that the seller participate at least short term for us to get in and get out of the property till we can get our exit strategy in place. This doesn't work because. Next page, on page 14. What if you don't want to act as the front man, you want to act as the principal? What if you just told them the truth? Say, look, I'm not an expert. That's why I'm called you. This is my first deal. Will you help me? What human being can resist that? Will you help me? And you know what? From that point on, it gives you the license to be stupid. But if you take that license to be stupid, big if. If you're asking for their help, then you should be doing more listening than talking. You don't ask for somebody's help and then try to impress them with how smart you are. You ask for their advice. And I'll tell you what, these commercial brokers are not dummies. They are very smart people. They deal with the big leagues, and I guess even more importantly, they will make you in touch quickly of what's going on in your surrounding environment. They're dealing it. They're in it every single day with their hand in the toilet. They are a wealth of information. They know what works and they know what doesn't work. They know what is happening. They know secrets that are not public knowledge. They know what's going to happen. They're in touch with the people that make it happen. They can tell you what will get financed and what won't get financed. They'll tell you who to go finance it, who will get the money with. They give you all this information. In other words, they take away all of the grief of all of the unknowns in your life if you'll just work with them and not against them. Now, if you're bringing me the deal, don't worry. We will be on the phone with them. We'll do the convincing for you. We will assure them that we're real. But before you ever get to that point, you've got to create a relationship that will at least get enough information from them to get it to us. Rick's job, first thing Rick's going to do is get on the phone with the broker and let them know, hey, there's somebody else involved in this. That person you're dealing with that you didn't have that much faith in, her job is now placed into our hands. Do you have something?
If you're going to act as a principal, two things I would share with you. They've got to be somewhat true. One way to approach your broker would be to say, I've been investing in single-family houses, and a group of us have decided to pool our money and now buy commercial real estate. And I know nothing about commercial real estate, but we got money. Can you help me? If you're active,
we have money available.
Money available. Can you help me? If you're active in your RIA, putting together 5, 6, 7, 8 folks who will kind of tentatively, commit to some money is no big deal. Expect the broker to come back and ask, how much you got to work with.
Nah, we're going to construct deals where we don't need to do that, Sherman.
Okay.
Besides, the last thing I want to do is a deal with 5 or 6 people in my RIA group. I can tell you that right now.
Understand.
But you're talking about pooling money.
But if you're going, and again, this is only if you're going to act as a principal and you're still a little bit nervous. You can say, look, we've been making money in single. Everybody knows folks have been making money in single family. That's a true story.
It is true. Here's what you never want to tell a broker. I want you to find me some deals I can buy with nothing down.
Yeah.
That's like painting an idiot sign across your head there. Nothing down is a misunderstood term, guys, just for the record. You're going to be buying a lot of properties with nothing down. But that doesn't mean the seller's not getting money.
Yeah.
It just means it's not your money.
And if you're talking to commercial, I wouldn't use terms like nothing down, creative. Don't use creative. Just simply say we've been making money in single-family houses, and now we want to move on to commercial. Can you help me?
And just so you know, any commercial broker understands that you need to get a deal if you say so. They understand you're not their prime target because their prime target are dumb doctors who pay retail price and put up the down payment, go to the bank and borrow the money. I mean, hey, I'm a broker. That's who I want to sell to, too. People with credit and money. That's what everybody's looking for. People with credit and money that don't have a clue what they're doing, so I can tell them anything I want, they believe it. That's the natural target. But that doesn't mean that they won't work with you when they find out that you've got to have a little equity in this thing in order to be able to purchase it, and you got to have a little cooperation on the seller's part to help you get. When I tell a broker, I need the seller to help me finance this property long enough for me to get in, get it fixed, and get it refinanced or sold. They get that instantly. They don't understand that. It's just a natural way to do business in our world. You agree with that, Tim, or not?
Absolutely. But one thing you said earlier, which I'm sure will be a mainstay of this rest of this course, is you're looking for deals. You're looking for things that have problems generally, because that's where the values are. High profile properties that are leased up and.
Yep.
You're going to be paying, you're not going to want those. And a lot of, like LoopNet, for instance, LoopNet is a great thing to get generally aware of market. But a heck of a lot of stuff on LoopNet is things that are just way overpriced or waste of your time. And the best thing you can do on LoopNet, at least from my perspective, and thinking about you folks, is to identify an area like the gentleman did earlier, get a general knowledge of that market through the listings on LoopNet, and then find a good broker or a couple of good brokers off of there that can answer your questions.
In fact, that's a good question. How do we find a good broker? I'm going to suggest you go find the properties that make sense and you back into the brokers. You back into the brokers while looking for the properties if you go into LoopNet, and then you develop a relationship with the brokers that will get you other deals. You don't just walk into a real estate office and say, I want to find a broker to help me find a deal. That's not how I do it anyway. I do it the other way. Same way with houses. You walk into a real estate office and say, help me find some houses that I can buy. Man, that's a tough road to hoe. Your chances of getting somebody who's on the same mindset as you are, somebody who that can help you, are not good. But if I go to a project that's in trouble and I've got a broker that's listed it, and I go to that broker, I don't have to cross this hurdle of I'm only looking for projects that are in trouble. Which, by the way, Tim, is a good point you just made up. What if I just came to you and I said, listen, I want you to bring me any type of commercial property that's got a problem. Don't bring me the pretty stuff that's leased up. Don't bring me the 7 cap rate properties. I'm not interested. If it don't have a problem, if either the property's got a problem or the people have a problem, call me.
Yeah, absolutely. Because
that's easy.
You got to understand, in this market out here today, in the commercial side, the cap rates are very low.
Well, they don't know what that is yet. We're going to get into that here shortly.
Yeah, but
it's not how fast you can put on a hat.
In other words, they're very expensive, and there's lots of people chasing them, and lots of institutions chasing them.
Yep.
So you're wasting that broker's time, and you're wasting your time to even look at that type of stuff.
Okay.
A couple of places where you can find a broker that wasn't mentioned already. Business brokers are actually a pretty good source if you want to do like a direct mail thing. Most of the times that you have somebody who's selling a business, there's usually real estate attached to it, small commercial deals attached to it. And business brokers don't tend to be as sophisticated on the real estate side as they are on the business issue side. So that's one opportunity.
Business brokers, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
That's a good idea because a lot of businesses come with a real estate.
And I would recommend business brokers for mass letter camp. If you don't know any kind of a targeted letter campaign or anything like that, that's a good use of that resource. Where we're from in Washington, D.C., there actually is a printed publication. Looks almost like Auto Trader, big glossy cover on the outside, newsprint on the inside. It's called the Business Opportunities Guide and Commercial Real Estate Guide.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And in fact, I called the office at the break, and I asked them to send me 3 copies, so we'll have copies of it here tomorrow to pass around. People take a look at it. But it covers Washington, D.C., Maryland, Virginia, and southern Pennsylvania, and Delaware. And you're not so much looking for deals as much as if you get a subscription to something like this, if it exists in your market, looking at who are the real estate agents and who are the brokers that repeatedly advertise in the publication and see what kinds of deals they're marketing. Those are the kind of folks you'd go to and say, bring me your really ugly stuff. Because those are the ones who are spending money every month to have their name, their company, their offerings offered up. And again, it's in D.C. I think other cities have similar types of publications. And then the third thing I would recommend is if you know specific product type you want to go after. As an example, easy example, low-hanging fruit, easy example, mobile home parks. If you want to go after mobile home parks, there's really no brokers out there that represent mobile home parks. But there are trade associations. Dan Kennedy likes to say that the whole world is made up of niches and subgroups, I think it is. There's actually trade associations for mobile home park owners. And there's a national chapter in D.C., but they're local chapters. A few years ago, I was looking at mobile home parks and was at the Maryland Manufactured Housing Association. And I got more deals than I knew what to do with, quite honestly. I didn't know what to do with them. But joining these, going to some of these trade association meetings for specific product types like mobile home parks is that's an easy one that comes to mind.
That's a great idea.
So
that's the same thing with apartments. Apartment associations.
That one was the Maryland Manufactured Housing Association, actually out of Frostburg, but they meet sometimes in Bowie.
There's an apartment association in every city you live in.
Apartment association, BOMA, Building Owners Managers Association. But if you can find trade associations in your local marketplace, that's a good place. Because at the end of the day, I'm sorry,
go ahead.
Tim said it best. LoopNet kind of deals are retail deals. And every once in a while, something slips through the crack that makes them.
Oh, I would disagree with you on that one, Chief.
One person's opinion.
Yeah.
But what you guys really want to focus on, and then what Ron's saying is, you want to look at the wholesale deals and try to, pretty the same as the house business.
Well, in a minute, I'm going to tell you how to spot the difference on LoopNet.
Yeah, you don't want to be out there paying top dollar for deals. You'd much rather get something that's a little ugly, needs some work. You got don't wanters. You got to understand a lot of ways that these smaller commercial properties, and I say smaller, deals that are $5 million down to about $500,000. A lot of the way those deals come together is family has a business, or there's a doctor or lawyer, they buy a piece of property, and then they either retire or pass on, and then they give it to their kids, and the kids are like, we don't know what to do with this thing. So there's a lot of these opportunities out there, and what you want to be looking for are kind of the wholesale deals, and where you get in, fix it up, clean it up, do whatever, and then sell it to somebody else at retail, not you buying it at retail.
Let me tell you how important getting relationships with commercial real estate brokers are, guys. I just sitting here thinking, with the exception of the properties that we have in Dallas that Rock's in charge of, every property that I'm working with a student around the country literally has turned into student finding deal and me turning their broker in charge because they're savvy, loose, and letting them do their thing. The 2 subdivisions that I got in Michigan going right now, the broker is making the deal. The broker is literally doing all of the pieces, putting all the crap together, getting all the due diligence done, and will sell out the property. I'm going to make her a partner in that deal. That's how much I like her. And she's going to bring other deals to us. And she's going to do it all. All I got to do is structure the offers, get it funded, and turn her loose. In other words, find good people and let them build a business around themselves. A project in Florida, same thing that Nathan and Dave was telling you about. Man, that broker's what's going to make that deal. First, he brought it to the table, and he's going to lease it up. He's going to get all the city cooperation we need. He's going to open the doors to expand the value of that thing tremendously. In fact, he's going to own that project. And he don't know it, but he's going to get cut in on that some way as well. And that's the way it's happening. I got 2 or 3 other deals going on. Same thing. These commercial brokers are a absolute part of your career, and so don't take them lightly.
I would just add one thing that was brought up earlier, just as an aside, talking about mobile home parks. Mobile home parks are not just boxes on dirt. They, especially these days in some of the larger markets or even some of the smaller markets, they're real opportunities. So if you don't know anything about the mobile home business, but you've got a line on a mobile home park, a lot of times they can be extremely lucrative for other things. In other words, buy the mobile home park for a general cap on the income of the mobile home park when the underlying dirt's better off for another use, a higher use, and much more valuable.
Yeah.
And they're doing this. I know they're doing one in Jacksonville right now.
What?
right under your nose.
You're doing one in Jacksonville?
No, I'm not. I read about one the other day, but there's. Listen, but they're doing this all over the country, and it's just something to look for. Just because something looks one way, don't necessarily think that it can only be used for that use, especially in those areas.
You bet. In fact, David and Nathan, where are you guys at? What's the first question I said to you guys before I went down and looked at this project down in South Florida? There's 160,000 square foot of buildings sitting here on 29 commercial acres right beside the airport. I said to the broker even, I want you guys to get outside the box and assume these buildings weren't here. Is this property worth more with them or without them? Well, I don't know. When you see the buildings, I'd have to say it's worth more with them. I mean, there's a lot of buildings here. I mean, you could put 5 skating arenas in here side by side in this thing. It's huge. So it's worth much more with the buildings in this case. Fortunately, though, we get a lot of vacant land we can build some other cool stuff on as well. So we get the best of both worlds. Plus, we get almost instant income streams out of the building that we wouldn't get out of vacant land. All right, any questions for these commercial brokers before I turn them loose?
Why would you not ask for approval of funds or something financial before you even go to the second step?
Why would you not ask for proof of funds before you go to the second step? Proof of what funds?
For example, if I give you a call, if I'm on the other side and I want to make sure you're real, I want to make sure you have the money.
Well, so in other words, you want to see my financial statement before we even find a project that we can do business on.
Why waste time if you...
I'll tell you how I would react as a buyer. You're going to shove it up your ass. That would be my comments. Now, Tim might have a different comment.
But he's a commercial broker. But if he's a commercial broker...
We don't even have a relationship, and we don't even have anything that we're aggressively talking about, and you already want to know if I'm... By the way, on page 14, is there an answer to that? I'm the front man. You don't need to see my financial statement. Let's work together to find a deal, and I can assure you we will convince you that the financial statement of the buyers is legitimate.
It's rare that the broker is going to ask for a financial statement in commercial. They may ask you to sign a non-disclosure if there's some confidentiality thing, but that's just signature on a piece of paper. But it's very rare.
At some point, they're going to want to know you're real, though, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, first blush, you're not going to ask for any financials. You're going to talk to the guy, and just like general business, you're going to talk to them and try to feel them out as to what they.
Well, there's some that will.
The reason I'm asking, in where I'm at in New Jersey, one of the hottest foreclosures brokers, the first thing they ask you, proof of funds. Otherwise, when they, especially residential, but when they get to commercial. What I've heard from some other people is the fact is that...
Can you do this?
But they got a hot deal. I'm not going to whack them, right? You find out. First, feel them out, right?
I mean, I'm a nice guy. I'm going to sit there and listen to you. And within a few conversations, I'm going to figure out whether you're real or not. Actually, it's not going to take many conversations.
No.
It'll usually take long
as it does.
No. I know.
Do you want the financial when I do the offer?
Well, it's not up to me.
I'm just saying when you do the offer.
Here's your answer. I will show you financial stability when I find a project that I want to buy through you. Until then, it would be none of your business. Back in the back.
That was a good answer. I really like that one.
Got to speak up.
2 questions.
All right.
One is, as a buyer, should I have my own commercial broker representing me, or should I deal through the listing broker?
We're going to cover that, but I will let these guys address it. You're looking for a buyer's broker. Go ahead.
If you're dealing with me, absolutely not. You need to have me on both sides.
Well, the answer is, if he's the listing agent, you don't want him representing you. But if he's not, he can turn himself into your buyer's broker. Don't cost you anything, and that you do want.
I do want my own broker involved in the transaction then.
Yeah, absolutely, if possible, and if not, certainly your own attorney. But generally, you're going to have your own broker involved.
Thank you. The second question is, I've been approached by a couple of commercial real estate brokers wanting me to sign an agency agreement. Is that standard in the industry?
I'll let you guys answer that. Explain to them what an agency agreement is.
As a buyer?
They wanted me to sign an open agency agreement.
Did you read it, and can you tell us what it said?
It said that they would represent me for anything I bought for X number of days, regardless of whether I found it myself or they brought it to me. And it was not listed that they wanted me to pay them a commission.
You don't need to do that.
And what does your gut tell you?
Oh, I told them to shove it. I did the Ron LeGrand on it.
You're hanging around me way too much, man. No, you don't ever want to give an agent an exclusive to find properties for you, so they think they're going to get paid when you do something that they don't have anything to do with.
In fact, this is my opinion, but I would be ashamed to give somebody that. I wouldn't work with somebody that did that personally if I was a buyer.
That's the way I felt too. Thank you.
Now, please don't confuse that with an agreement that if they bring you a deal, they get paid on that deal. You got to just look at the language.
Just open agency is a.
Yeah, some of them will slime and stick some paragraphs in there, especially when they don't think you're fully aware, and they'll stick it in there. I marked out one like that recently. In fact, the broker in Michigan, while those deals were being negotiated, I had no relationship with her, but after and she pulled that on me and tried to make me, her slave for life, and I marked that out. And she had no problem with me marking it out. She just wanted to see that I would. And it was clear now that if, you bring the deal, you do the deal. You don't bring the deal, don't expect me to pay you. Yes, sir.
Yes. I just wanted to make a comment. I really don't have a question, but you mentioned how critical the commercial broker is, and earlier you said the professional engineer. I have a project that hopefully we'll look at later in the class in Denver, and the two of the most key players in that process is the professional engineer who brought the deal to me, and the commercial broker who is putting all the lending piece of it and connecting all that up, including the hard money lenders and all that.
Very commonly, those are the two most key players. Yeah, that and whoever's putting up the money. Yeah, those are three very important key players. Exactly. All right, any other questions for these guys? If not, I'm going to turn them loose. Give them a round of applause. Anything you want to add before we're done? All right.
I'd add one last idea, and truthfully, you don't need to have a broker involved to do this. I like dirt. When I die, they're going to put on my tombstone, "Here lies the king of dirt," or something like that. This is what I would call the holes in the Swiss cheese strategy. You're driving around in your own community, or you're going from where you live to work or whatever, and you just see a piece of ground that's just not being used to its best potential. Maybe it's got a shack on it, maybe it's got a farm on it, and everything else around it's developed. That's a hole in a piece of Swiss cheese. I actually have a 22-acre development we're doing right now. It's 3 minutes from my house. Every day I'm driving the same road, back and forth, and there's this farm sitting in the middle of a bunch of single-family housing subdivisions. And basically contacted the owners, initially tried to convince them to hire me as the broker, got about 90% of the way there, and they decided to hire an attorney, which I advised them to do. The first thing the attorney told them is, you don't need a broker, I can sell it for you. So it immediately cut me out of the deal. But when it came time for him to sell it, he was a complete disaster for them. So I aligned myself with the person who happens to be the most active land developer in the county where I live. And I brought him the deal. This is before I knew Ron was doing what Ron was doing.
That's actually a great tip. Drive around, look for properties that should be developed but aren't. Track down the owner and ask them if they want to sell. Now, many of them have already been approached by a dozen times, but some of them have never been approached. Yeah. They just don't get approached, or they're hard to get a hold of or whatever. And you'll learn to turn some killer deals. In fact, that's how Rock found at least one of the properties that I know of that we got here. He just tracked down the people and hunted them down and started talking to them.
Yeah, we put that deal under contract for $2.3 million. We haven't closed on it. We've already got it sold. We've already subdivided. I got it sold. We're going to make somewhere north of $8 million on that, me and my partner. And rather than getting a brokerage commission from the seller, I'm in a partnership relationship with the buyer. You're going to find that you don't need a lot of money. In fact, you don't need money at all to do deals. What people are looking for is knowledge, which you may or may not have, okay, but you can get that, or an opportunity. And if you can find an opportunity, you can find somebody, whether it's Ron or somebody else, that you can bring the opportunity to them and carve out your piece.
You know what people really want? You know what they really want? They want somebody who can take action. And then they want somebody who can keep their promises. That's what people want. And the same thing is true for any business. Get something going and then do what you say you're going to do. That's all they really want to see. From the biggest players down to the smallest ones. And I'm going to tell you the biggest ones want it a lot more than the smallest ones. Because there's so few people who actually do it and not just give it lip service. And I don't care how big, I can sit here and give you a list of properties right now that are multi-million-dollar properties. These guys get approached with people all the time who talk, and don't ever do anything. All you have to do is be something somebody doesn't mean you don't have to buy every property you investigate. But hey, you're going to learn to get in, get some information, make a decision to move forward and get out quickly. And if you do that, you get great respect even if you get out. Look, here's how I'm getting out. Here's why I'm getting out. It won't work for me. Hey, they understand that. What they don't understand is being jerked around for 30 to 60 days before you can make a decision.
Yeah, that's a killer. If you want to kill yourself in a community or in a business community, in the real estate business, go out here and promise a lot of things and then don't follow through. You won't ever get a call back, and your name will get around pretty quick. But if you're just ethical and treat people like you want to be treated. Generally, there's good brokers out here, there's bad brokers out here. There's people that'll call themselves commercial brokers that just are that in name, and then they're very good people, and there's everything in between. Just do what you say you're going to do. Have some idea of what you want and what you are looking for on the way in, and just be truthful. And what Ron says is true. You just, if you want to make an offer and look at the numbers, if it doesn't make sense, call them back up, tell them it doesn't make sense to you, and they'll respect that.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it. Appreciate the contribution. I really do. All right. Move on down the list here, and then we're going to come back to this LoopNet thing. Attend planning and zoning meetings. Guys, if you want to know what's going on in your community, you owe it to yourself to attend the planning and zoning meetings. There's no better place to get down and dirty and get the real facts, not from hearsay, than go to the planning and zoning meetings. This is where they discuss. Here's what our requests are on the board to do now. Here's what we're going to do. Here's what our plans are. Here's how we see this city happening in the future. You're on the inside track. You got information very few people are they're all able, but willing to go get if you just attend the planning and zoning meetings. And if you can't go, send somebody else and let them bring you back a report of what went on. In fact, I'm going to take that advice myself. Steve, where are you? Good. I'm going to work it out with Steve. Steve came over here on my airplane. He's from Jacksonville. He's an appraiser, for God's sake. So, don't feel too bad for him here. He's an appraiser. But he's got an inside track to the city, don't you? Okay, I want to know what planning and zoning is thinking about Jacksonville. Now, fortunately for me, I'm doing deals all over the country, so Jacksonville is just one little piece. But you know what? Here's a rub. I'm doing deals all over the country, and I'm not doing any commercial deals in Jacksonville. How come? Because nobody from Jacksonville has brought me any deals yet. That's why. You got it, Steve? All right. Well, we are working on a couple nearby, that's for sure. And it's true, we did look at some that weren't good enough. Letter campaigns. If you find owners of vacant properties, you certainly want to send them a letter. But I tell you, I'd get on the telephone or I'd go visit them way before I'd send them a letter. And I'd only send them a letter if I couldn't reach them on the telephone or I couldn't go visit them. And many of them, you're going to find, are out-of-town owners. And A, they don't know what's going on. B, they don't care what's going on, or the property wouldn't be on the market. C, this thing is of little concern in their life. And here you come saying, listen, I'll be interested in buying the property. Now, don't get them all excited and tell them you're going to pay retail price and all that crap. Just say, listen, I have been driving by that property and I just wondered, you'd be interested in selling it. I might be interested in buying it if we can work out the terms. You're going to find some deals. You can make, if you just did that, you'll find enough deals over a year's time to make many times what you currently make on any job. Many times. But you got to do the work. Somebody's got to do the work. Very few people are willing to do the work. Rundown properties. Anytime you see a rundown property, same as a house, guys. What do you think when you see an ugly house? There's a candidate for me to buy. There's a prospect that I should be looking to buy. The house is qualified. Now let me get a hold of the owner and see if the owner is qualified. See if the owner wants to sell the property. Ask yourself, why do properties get run down to begin with? It's because whoever owns them don't care enough to keep them in good shape or is not able to keep them in good shape. The ingredients of a motivated seller. Anytime you see a property run down, any kind of property run down, you know the owner's got a problem. Now, whether they're ready to sell or not, I don't know. Whether they're in la-la land, are they real? I don't know. But I do know that if I have a choice of tracking down this person with this rundown property or tracking down the one next door to it's in excellent condition, I know my odds are 10 times better over here on the rundown property of making a deal happen. You always got to be on the lookout for rundown properties. What kind of rundown properties? Well, maybe they're vacant, maybe they're not. Maybe they're just run down. Maybe they're owner-occupied and run down. Maybe the owner don't think they can sell because they're in bad shape. Maybe the owner's out of town and they're a rundown property. What kind of tenants occupy rundown properties? Generally those that you have a hard time collecting rent out of. That's creating problems for the landlord that you can easily overcome. How do you overcome a tenant that's not paying rent? You evict them, you know. Apartments. Should you be looking for rundown apartment complexes? Should you be looking for rundown office buildings? How about here? Here's a good one. Should you be looking for mobile home parks full of junk? Full of junk meaning wobbly boxes that are junky. Yes, they are prime targets to be looking for. Should you be looking for, well, I don't know how you get rundown land. Could you find land that's got junk all over it? Probably. Could you find land, like he just said, that's in the path of progress? Anytime you see land, man, this is easy stuff to find. Everywhere you guys live, there's land that's in the path of progress that should have been developed that isn't for some reason. It don't hurt to find out why. It's an internet search to find out who the owner is, and it's a phone call or a letter. Or both. Somebody ought to be doing that regularly in your organization, and I'm going to tell you right now, you're going to turn over a lot of deals that way. If I'm not mistaken, the 800-acre property that we bought here in Forney, Texas, that's Hal Rock found them by word of mouth. I don't think their property was for sale when he found it. He's going to be here at noon. I'll let him tell you. All right, let's go back to this website thing here for a minute. On the next page, page 10, you'll see an actual excerpt of a LoopNet.com website. And the following page is another one of those websites. Anyway, you'll notice there's two different websites there represented, and then on the third page is another one. The third page is LFC. All of these are on your list, and you're going to discover more of them. These are just some of the websites you can go on that have commercial properties listed right on them. LoopNet seems to be the one that everybody works with, but it certainly should not be your only one. Now, I want you to look at LoopNet for a minute, and then we'll compare it to the one next door to it here and the one on the next page. And let's see how we can look at this website and spot the opportunities. In fact, do you notice on page 10 that there's a check mark on two of the properties? Yes? Well, I'll tell you why we put the check mark. Well, first of all, do you see the circle up there around the 7% cap? All right, second property down, you see it says cap rate 7%. Everybody see it? Yeah. Put a circle around the 7%. Folks, that immediately tells you that's a waste of your time. We sell properties at 7% cap rate. We sure don't buy them at 7%. They're advertising 7% cap rate. They're looking for the dumb doctor. Or they're looking for a REIT, a real estate investment trust. They're not looking for us. Now look at the one right below it. Put a check mark there. Is your got check marks or not? Nope. All right, well, check mark it. Now let's take a look at that. It's in Jacksonville, Florida. It's 52 plus acres. Do you see you have that much description there? With 35 of them usable. Has exposure on 9A. That's our loop around our city. It's a very hot loop, highly developed, hot part of Jacksonville. In fact, I live at the end of 9A. And access from paved road near airport and seaport. What they're advertising there is 52 acres for $2.5 million. And it's industrial land. Now, the first thing that I'd do in my mind is I'd divide $2.5 million by 52. What do I come up with? About $48,000 an acre, give or take. Right? It's industrial land. In time, you'll grow to discover that, $48,000 an acre for industrial land in a hot, highly developed market is a pretty reasonable asking price. In fact, it's probably way below what the property is worth. For industrial land, most markets of this country, it starts at about $100,000 an acre and it goes up. As soon as you learn in generalities, what land would be selling for per acre where you live, which might take you a week's worth of research looking at stuff where you live, you'll be able to spot that the asking price of $48,000 an acre seems to be a little on the low side until we do a little bit of research to find out if that's true or not. Now, if I were looking at that, I would just simply pick up the phone and I'd call Jerry Jones. And I just asked Jerry Jones a couple of questions. I said, Jerry, I noticed it on LoopNet. You got 52 acres. Let me ask you something. If I had that thing appraised, if I had that property, what is that property really, really worth? What's the market value of that property right now in its current zoning? And he'd tell me. He'd say it's worth a lot more than they're asking, or it's worth what they're asking, or whatever. Now, the next thing I'd say is, Jerry, if I were interested in that property, do you think the seller that you have would be interested in helping me with some short-term financing to give me a chance to get in, to get the property turned around and get out with a sale or refinancing? Immediately. I'd know whether that thing's worth messing with or not. If Jerry says, it's a big REIT, they want all cash, done with that one. Move on to the next one. Pre-screening at a lightning speed. By the way, what else have I accomplished? I just made a phone call to a commercial broker who may turn into a very good source for leads. I might do like Doc did. Say, hey, Jerry, listen, I'm interested in properties that have a problem or people who have a problem. I'm not interested in buying at retail price. Would you make sure that you contact me with any kind of commercial property you got that I can steal or that I can get at a good price or get some good financing on it? You send them to me and I'll tell you quickly, and we'll learn to know each other very quickly. You just made a contact. You made a contact by following up on a lead right on LoopNet, which comes up on your computer screen. And if you're really good and if you like Jerry, by the way, if you don't like Jerry, don't worry about following up with him. I think that Jerry's a she, though, isn't she? Don't worry about following up with her. You know what? You don't have to deal with people who don't want to deal with you. You don't have to deal with people you don't like talking to on the telephone. There's no law that says you've got to kiss their rump. If I don't like the first conversation, there's a real good chance there's never going to be another one. And just for the record, me buyer, me missing link. Sellers are a dime a dozen. Buyers make rules. Sellers think they make rules. I'm the one bringing the money to the table. I'm the one that making it happen. I'm the one generating cash for the seller and commission for the broker. I'm the one that deserves to get the answers. I choose who I want to work with, and if I don't like any of them, I don't work with them. Because there's a whole bunch of deals out there. I'm not a seller with one property I got to sell, and I'm not a broker with a property that I got to sell. I'm a buyer, and I get to pick and choose what I'm looking for. And more importantly, I'm not a one-use buyer who has to have that certain building in that certain one location, and that's the only thing that I'll buy. I buy anything and everything, but only if it's low-hanging fruit. That makes me a very rare commodity, folks. It also makes me in high demand for any commercial broker who thinks I'm real. Basically, I'm the colon of their operation. I'll take all the crap that they can turn up. You're picturing that one, aren't you? All right, let's look at the one right below that check mark. Let's see here. I got, what do I got here? Building size. I got a building. Looks like it might be an office building of 28,000 square feet, and they're asking $1.1 million for it. You know what? That's a dirt cheap price, which I just now noticed. What's this? Construction, description, prefab, metal. Okay, so it's probably an industrial. Oh, it's a warehouse. Says that. All right, dummy. All right, well, now, there's a big difference between office price per square foot and warehouse price per square foot, isn't it? Somebody divide that for me real quick. What is 28,000 square feet divided into 1.1 million? That's about what, $40 a foot? Huh? Well, 40 some odd dollars a square foot for warehouse space is not all that great of a bargain, is it, for those of you who know? Here's one thing that I never lose sight of, and you should never lose sight of, is there sometimes a huge difference between the asking price and the buying price. Remember, this is only asking, class, but the same rules apply here as they do with houses. When the asking price is already well below market, now I got me one of them kind of sellers that I want to deal with. When the asking price is at market, as far as I'm concerned, it's a suspect till they prove differently. All right, look down at the bottom. Second one from the bottom with a picture. It says Firestone Building Products. Look at that cap rate. 6.32 cap rate. If they sell it at that price, man, they're overpaying for that property. And I'm not interested in that game. Now look at the bottom. No pictures. It says former JEA corporate building. See it down there? Hello? Look at the size of that building. 162,000 square foot, Steve. Asking price, $4.3 million, Steve. See, I don't even need a calculator to know that per square foot price, I will tell you what it is, that's $26 a square foot. I did the calculation. When I see an office building on the market for $26 a square foot, I have to take a look. I have to. I'm sure it's vacant. I'm sure. So what? That's why it's cheap. Got to go look at it, Steve.
I used to work with this guy, head of real estate for JEA.
You used to work with this guy?
Yes, sir.
He's head of real estate for JEA, and you haven't been on LoopNet bringing me this deal.
I looked at the deal. They had a couple of buyers or offers, so I thought it was gone.
They had a couple buyers or offers, so you thought it was gone, and you didn't stay in the loop. Okay? Now, by the way, that's a good point. What happens when they get jerked around with other people, then we come in and are real? By the way, the Michigan deals, the reason I own them is because the last 2 or 3 buyers they had for them jerked their chain. And by the way, by the time I came into this deal, they were pissed off at me already, and they didn't even know me. They were pissed off at any buyer. And you should see the language they put in the contract. If I don't close on that date, there will be absolutely no extensions. Look, I didn't piss them off, but they're taking it out on me because they got jerked around so much. I love it. I love it when a seller has had 2 or 3 attempts to buy the buildings fail. And then I come in. Man, it just softens them up. I mean, it's like pounding a steak, just soften it up, you know. And I tell them, say, look, don't take it out on me. I'm real. I'm sorry you had to pay such a price to get to me. Now look at the one below it. It's a 46,000 square foot building. It looks like an office building. And I can tell you that it's in a well-located area with a Bay Center Road address. And their asking price is $3.5 million. Asking price. Now what I do is I go in there and I pull up the rest of the information. So you can just punch on theirs and it'll print out the information for you. And then I'd look. I say, man, $76 a square foot for a decent office building in a decent location like that is a cheap price. You know, I can tell you, Steve, and see if you agree, in Jacksonville, office buildings are going to run anywhere from $100 to $150 a square foot on the average. Mr. Appraiser, is that about right? That's about right. Okay, see, if I know that, and I'm looking at one that's advertised for 76, and it's in a good area, and 46,000 square feet to boot, I have to follow up on it if I'm real. So on this one page, ladies and gentlemen, there are 3 prospects worth following up on one stinking page. And this is just one page. In Jacksonville alone, there's usually, 6-8 pages every week. And of course they change. So I have Tish pull these out once a week for me. And I take a look at only the updates. Look at the one on the next page. See, I don't like this one, whatever the website this is. Who can tell me why I don't like it? Yeah, don't tell me, unless the description happens to mention it, it's not near as plain as LoopNet. I can look at LoopNet and I can see what kind of property I'm buying, what it consists of, what they're asking, and most of my questions are answered. Now, it don't give me the ARV, does it? Does it? Okay, are you beginning to see already, though, how I'm getting an ARV in my mind, at least until I get further notice? I'm dealing at land. Land, I need to know approximately what land is selling for, give or take, in my area. At least I need to think I know until I go checking it out. Incidentally, how long do you think it's going to take for you to do where you live by just checking out these leads to find out what the values are where you live, so you'll know what they are? Don't think I'm some kind of expert in Jacksonville. I can't take you to any part of Jacksonville and tell you what the land cost is. I don't know that. But I'm able to recognize when I know one is cheap. For example, you have hard pressed to find even farmland in Florida where people live for less than $20,000 an acre right now. I only know this because I've been looking in land. And on the other hand, we're looking at 3,000 acres that they're asking $3,300 an acre. So, what does that tell you? It tells you we better be making an offer. We already made an offer on it, actually. Letter of intent is in. Student deal. Turn to the next page. What's this one? LFC. See, I like that one even less. I have to study it too hard to learn anything. Let me see. Look at it here, Jill. Skilled nursing facility in Marnie, Michigan.
Marnie, I have it already here.
Huh? Oh, you have it already here. So you already been on LoopNet. Okay. Located approximately 10 miles northwest of Grand Rapids, that's your area. This former skilled nursing facility with a capacity of 239 beds for the home of the aged is located in a rural setting 1/2 mile from I-95 and approximately 10 miles from US 30. Well, great. That's good information. But hey, what do you want? Where's the asking price?
Sealed bid.
Sealed bid. Okay. Sealed bid. Oh, these are all sealed bid auctions. All right. Well, if they're sealed bid auctions, is that a good thing in itself? Or is that just the way the realtors sell stuff up there? Man, I want to know the facts. There's one down at the bottom now. We're getting closer. At least I know it's got 35,100 square foot industrial building. I can't tell what the rest of this junk is. I guess this is a nationwide auction company, isn't it? Maybe that's what LFC stands for. If it is a nationwide auction company, it is probably worth pursuing. Getting the properties in your area off of it. By the way, guys, don't be going on the website and pulling off a property and submitting it to us and expecting us to go do all your work for you. You know, that ain't what we do. You can't just go pull up a site, print it out, and submit it to us, say, I want to partner with you on this deal. Well, great. Have you talked to the broker? Well, no. Have you talked to the owner? Well, no. Well, then what do we need you for? We have internet where we live, too. Huh?
It belongs to a REIT.
Belongs to a REIT?
They're desperate.
Well, they're desperate. Why are they desperate? There's good and there's bad about REITs. Real Estate Investment Trust. We're buying a couple properties right now from REITs. And I'll tell you a good thing about a REIT. The people who run the REIT get paid by the churn and burn. They get paid by the churn and the burn. REITs will sell properties just to turn them. They don't care. They're getting a good return for their investors. Maybe they should. Another thing about REITs have to pay taxes. Well, the people have to pay taxes. So quite often REITs get into exchanges. And when they get into exchanges, they got to move quick. In fact, I did a deal just the other day. My broker in Michigan called me that we've got a REIT looking for hotels. And this REIT's going to buy some hotels. They just did a big exchange. They got $158 million they want to get rid of. They got my attention. I like them already. And they're going to buy hotels. And when you get brokers to give you that kind of information, you go find them what they want. Or you plug them into what they want. We sent a hotel to the broker to send to the REIT. And they're talking about a big hotel that we just happen to already know of that's sitting there vacant in a great area. Leads generate leads. And REITs have to buy and they have to sell or they're not in business. And you're going to run across a lot of them. And don't think that they are your big, huge competition. See, REITs don't buy stuff like we buy. REITs are a big pool of capital put up by investors. They will go buy this crap at 7% cap. They might be who you're selling to. And then when they turn it around and they've gotten their use out of it, then you might get a deal from them. We're buying a hotel right now in California from a REIT that we would have never been able to buy if we didn't have the inside track to that REIT. How do we get the inside track? Talking, referral, people talking to people. I'll take questions now if you want to go to the mic on anything on this page, on finding deals or any of this stuff. I'll tell you one thing, I would absolutely sick somebody on pulling up all of these websites. And I would also have somebody contacting all of these auction companies and getting on their mailing list. Yes?
We would like to know, how do you find REITs?
You don't need to find REITs. You need to find properties for sale, and you'll discover the REITs. And you're not going to actually probably be talking to the REIT anyway. You're going to be talking through commercial brokers. If you got properties for sale that they want, they'll find you if you let the world know that you have the property for sale.
Often I found when I am inquiring about some of these opportunities, there is a requirement for confidentiality agreements that are signed prior to getting the information. Ever any reason why you might not sign something like that?
Well, first, I'm very reluctant to sign anything. But I don't really have a problem with the confidentiality agreement as long as it says, the only thing it says is that I won't share this information with anybody else that could circumvent the commission from the realtor who brought it for me, which is really all they care about. They really want to know is that if I buy this property or if I find somebody to buy it, they get paid. And if there's anything in the confidentiality agreement that says other than that, I will say, listen, if this is what you're concerned about, then change it. Because that's all I'm promising you. I'm not promising you that I won't talk about this deal to everybody I need to talk about to get the deal done. But I normally don't have a problem with them. It's exclusivity agreements that I have a problem with. But I'll tell you this. I've had brokers send me confidentiality agreements, and I just send them back and say, my attorney will not let me sign something this intensive. And as far as I can tell, it ain't never stopped them from getting me the information. I want to move into pre-screening now? As if we haven't already been doing it? Step one is what? Locating prospects. Do you have a list of how you're going to locate prospects when you get back home? Okay, what are we going to do? Contact brokers. How are we going to contact brokers? All right. There's several ways. Number one, we can go on LoopNet. Is everybody going to go on LoopNet? Well, I don't have a computer and I don't know how to get on the internet. Well, that's no problem. Get your 12-year-old to do it for you. I mean, I don't do it either. My secretary does it for me. Tish does it. I ain't going on LoopNet. I wouldn't be caught dead on LoopNet. You get me on LoopNet, you punish me. You see me on LoopNet, you hurt me. Because that's not the best use of my time anyway. It is the best use of her time. She prints out the stuff. She brings me up to date. I look at the printed crap. I throw most of it in the trash. And I only deal with the properties that make sense for us to pursue, which of course is a minority, not the majority. You see how easy it is to pre-screen on LoopNet? It's just like running house calls into Pat Live. They email you the sheets and you throw most of them away and go out and get the deeds on 3 or 4 of them that pass. LoopNet, it's already done for you. Just plug in. And these other websites. Don't ignore the other websites. Incidentally, you will find properties in your area that's on the other websites that aren't on LoopNet, and vice versa. And some that are the same. So you're all going to go on LoopNet. You're all going to go into these websites. Okay? Who's going to contact the auction companies and get on their mailing list? How are you going to find commercial brokers other than backing in through them through LoopNet? You're going to find properties and call them from the signs. What are you going to do? Yellow Pages. Oh, God, no. Not Yellow Pages. What else are you going to do? Newspaper ads. You'll find very good, real commercial properties worth a flip advertised in the newspaper. Usually what's in the newspapers are really small commercial deals that probably aren't even worth your effort. Doesn't hurt to keep an eye on it. But that's not where you're going to find the deals. Pacer.com, that's for bankruptcies. Yes? Incidentally, they got residential bankruptcies in there too, guys. How about just making a point to do whatever you have to do to meet a handful of commercial brokers as well and just carry on a conversation? I think we've covered that. I'm looking for properties with problems. Either the people have a problem or the property have a problem. I'm looking for all types of commercial deal. I'm going to make a profit on them. I'm not looking to buy anything at retail price. Please keep in touch with me. Now, does it make sense for you to keep in touch with them as well? You should make a note, if you like them, to call them from time to time. Have you forgotten me? I have not died. Just wanted you to know I'm still here and I'm still looking. I do that quite often. Myself.
We have a local Michigan commercial magazine, and inside there it talks about all the deals that got done. Would you want to target the brokers that are getting those done? Because it says their name, their firm, everything.
Sure, why not?
I would think they'd be more active than most.
I am always eager to talk to people who are getting things done. Now, I will tell you, they're probably the busiest brokers and probably the hardest for you to get your attention. But even then, they have staff. I got a broker in Jacksonville that I work with. He sold me a couple buildings. In fact, he sold me the one that I'm in. Man, I have a hard time getting to him. So I just get to his staff, and then when he calls me back when he needs to. But he sent me some good prospects, but unfortunately not good enough. Yes?
And I would like to add that if you use the criteria that we got from Ron LeGrand, it's helped me a lot with dealing with commercial brokers. I mean, it's been a breeze because you can tell them exactly what you need for them to find you. And so that's helped me out a lot. I just wanted to say.
Thank you.
One of the websites you got on here, Ron, is CCIMnet.
It was what?
On page 9 on the websites.
CCIMnet?
Yes. CCIMs are actually brokers who specialize in commercial properties. So I have
CIMLS.com. Oh, CCIMnet. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. And there are CCIM chapters all over the country. If you can find out where the CCIM chapter is, that's a good place to start too.
Okay. Thank you.